time when spirituality was ascetic-like. The rajas, which is rejected as a factor for entering spiritual insights or any type of religion or mysticism. The Eduardo Anieri, he is going away, redirecting his path from his father, Gianni Anieri. He was one of the wealthiest businessmen in Italy. He totally dominated the 1960s and 80s, still 80s. He started to be the Fiat company director from 66 till 96, so 30 years of total reign of the car industry. He was very much the wealthiest man in the Italy, but what is very interesting is that his son, he turned into the mysticism and he converted to Islam. His name was changed to Mahdi, and we can see that in his chart. So we know that when it comes to generations, then the third generation can spoil the wealth. So for example, you may have grandfather wealth, then the fathers is sustaining it, maintaining, and then the grandson is spoiling the wealth or going into different direction. So also it is very interesting because in Jataka Parijata we have shlokas that when the ascendant of the sun is in 6th, 8th from the fathers, then the person may go into different direction. And this is very much present in my situation with my father, because my father was a professor in this mechanical engineering, the school, technical school, and he was doing his science rituals also there. And then I was going for 1 year also to mechanical engineering, but then I moved to the philosophy, right? And then I moved to the astrology, more humanistic, we could say, direction, right? So I was going into more things related to philosophy, psychology, sociology, and yeah, more humanistic, more about how society, how the thought is developing in the society. And our ascendants are 6, 8. Very interestingly is that my brother, who went to this mechanical engineering, he has also Scorpio ascendant, like my father. They both have Scorpio Vrishchika Lagna. But I am Gemini, so 6 and 8 relation between Vrishchika and Mithuna, or Scorpio and Gemini. Therefore, there is a nice shloka from Jataka Parijata which says that if a son or daughter is having such dushtana from the parents' ascendant, then it may show disagreements or just going into a different direction. The person may not follow, not support the tradition of the family. So I would say that in the Rasi chart, this can be seen by this Tapashvi yoga, right? We have already discussed the Tapashvi yoga. Tapashvi is a person which is dedicated to performing some sacrifices in life. This can, however, translate to a person who is very hardworking. So in the biography, it was always very much accentuated that he was very much hardworking person. And fifth is people who are our juniors, right? And 9th house is our authorities, our father, person who are above us, right? So this is like a general direction. This is like the trikona, the 1st, 5th, and 9th is all about the time and hierarchy. But the 5th lord, which is his child, is moving away from this triangle or direction of time, because he is going from 5th house to the 4th. So the 5th lord is in the 4th house, so he is like resigning from this situation, right? So we have this trine, Lagna lord is in the 9th house with the 2nd lord, so person is into wealth, into family, and the 2nd lord is in the 9th house. According to Parashara Muni, this is also wealth coming from inheritance, because from 2nd to 9th we have 8 houses, and especially we have the Karaka confirming, which is the Saturn. So we have Lagna Lord with the 2nd Lord In the ninth house, focus on wealth, awareness of family, of wealth, of inheritance. Shani is there. And this is Leo, the sign of father, because Leo is lorded by the sun. So we have this strong symbolism of the father. So he's following that line, right? He's getting the resources of the father, right? He started that at 45. He became this fiat shareholder. So all that thing started at his 45. We don't have much information what he was doing before. We know that he was studying law, but he never practiced law. We can see that moon is in the Pisces and the 10th from is loaded by Jupiter. So this is always showing in which direction the person was educated. So we have this Jupiter, which is indicating the law, but he was never working in the law. He was going into the following the tradition of the father. We could call it the dialectics of Hegel, right? When one generation is like thesis, the second is antithesis. So it could be like compensation or some form of revolt. And even this son, Eduardo, he was stating that he's against the capitalism, he's against this consumerism of this fiat, and he just going to the opposite pole of living, right? To this mysticism, to spirituality. He was even glorifying the poor lifestyle, was against this overarching collecting of resources, and that was probably some form of compensation. But is it working on that psychological level, or therefore we could invite this term of transcendental or karmic dialectic, right? When one is going from thesis to antithesis, and then maybe going to this Hegelian synthesis, more some form of unifying those opposite principles. Hey guys, if you like this video so far, please don't forget to click the like button. You are helping me with this algorithm to make it more visible on this platform, and also subscribe if you like to see similar videos on this platform. Also, I want to remind you that we have still 4 places left for the Vedic astrology course. The module 1 is starting at 22 of April, and the enrollment is till 31 of March. If you always wanted to learn Vedic astrology with the real traditional spirit, then don't miss this chance. And now let's go back to this video. Okay, so we were promised to explain this going away from the sun. We don't have his ascendant on the astrodata.com, unfortunately, but we can see that we were talking about this trine, right? The Lagna Lord, Ascendant Lord, is going to the 9th house. So basically the person is supporting the tradition of the family. It was really the grandfather, right? So this was this Jupiter aspecting 10th house in the Navamsha Lagna. I have moved the ascendant to the Taurus because the marriage time was all related to the Scorpio and Ketu, and we have this Venus of cars and this yoga of wealth, the Venus moon influencing the 10th house, and the wealth of the grandfather, the Jupiter, also aspecting the 10th house in the Navamsha. In the Dashamsa we have this Venus and moon, the big wealth, right? Being an entrepreneur in the 7th house, and the person resigned in the Jupiter Dasha. Also, there was a lot of death in the family. The father died in the plane crash. We see that Night Lord in the 3rd house going away in that sign of Rahu. The dispositor is showing the health, and Rahu is aspected by that Mars. The mother died in the car accident. We have this 4th Lord Jupiter, but also Ketu. 4th Lord is Ketu with the Venus, significator of the cars. Ketu is the significator or karaka of accidents, and aspected by Rahu. So in fact, there is a parivartana also between 4th and 5th. 4th Lord Ketu is in the 5th house, and 5th Lord Mars is in the 4th house, right? So there is a lot of this Moon-Mars yoga. This is the Rudra yoga. Moon-Venus and Moon-Mars, this can also show extreme situation when it comes to health, extreme situation when it comes to life of people, and that being in the 4th house of mother of the family, and the 9th Lord also going away. This positor in the yoga of Rahu Mars shows that unfortunate events related to parents, but also younger brother, right? And the third lord is in the ninth. So we see how important is that leaving the sign. Ninth lord going to third, third lord going to the ninth house. So this is very important factor. So when we see the sun going to different direction, we see that triangle, right, of the tradition of the family, and fifth lord is going to the fourth. So it is 12 from the fifth. So it's like leaving the tradition. I'm going away. And where I'm going? Pisces. So this is very much the spiritual sign. And the same thing is in the Saptamsha, because the Saptamsha is dedicated special chart related to children. So we also have fifth lord in the fourth house in the Pisces. And what's very interesting, in the house of children, in the Venus Ketu, this Venus is showing Islam, because in the Muslim tradition, the day of worship is Friday. And also there is the Jyotish Yoga Venus Ketu. And what's interesting, you can also read that in the biography of Wikipedia, that son Eduardo, he was publicly protecting or defending the astrology, that astrology is working. So this is very interesting, and you need a real courage for that, because there are many astrologers who would don't do it because of some kind of internalized shame because of the current scientific paradigm. But he was the son of the wealthiest man of Italy, of the king of business from 960 to 80, and he was still defending the astrology. So he was very much a courageous person. And what's interesting, we have this yoga of a Venus Ketu in the fifth house of a child. And now we have something which is totally killing the potential skepticism about astrology. The child, the birth of the son, was in Dasha of Venus Ketu. And also the marriage was in Venus Ketu, because Ketu is a 12th lord. The timing of marriage is in the 12th house Dasha. So we see that exactly in that major period and sub-period of planets related to the fifth house, we have the birth of the children, and the 12th lord Ketu also shows that time of marriage. So very, very accurate if we use the proper rules and the proper dasha. I would say that very interesting is his Aruda Lagna, because we have three elements here which in very nice way depict the reality of Gianni Agnelli. That means that this is in the sign of Mars, which is showing that whole engineering and industrial sector. But we also have the Ketu, which is showing man of elite. He was very much in the top level of society. And then we have also the Venus. He was very much into the fashion, and to the extent that the fashion and Italy and even international was inspired by his eccentric, as some say, approach to fashion. And what is very interesting is that we know that he was also having some affairs. So this Venus is in martial sign, and the Bahustra Yoga indicates such a narrative in the life of the person. So we have this Venus for fashion, Ketu elite, and of course the Mars, the industrial, mechanical engineering, the whole company, and in the fifth house. So he was well known as a stockholder, fifth house. The Venus here is showing the wealth of Gianni Agnelli, and so the stocks, fifth is stocks, and fifth is also workers. So he had so many workers, it was like 3% of people in Italy was working for Fiat at the time. He was the king of 1960 to 1980, and also we could say that he was having 25% of stock, right? So that was all belonging to him. So we see how this fifth house is very important in his life. Also very interesting thing for the book Strange Right is about the 4 factors for religion. And we can ascribe, I always, as following the footsteps of our Guru Charya, Pandit Sanjay Rath, I love to ascribe planets to some listing or bullet points and so on. So here we have that religion is having 4 factors. So one is meaning, the second is purpose, the third is community, which is maybe now not so much important. And the fourth house would be the ritual. So I would say that definitely the meaning, right? The meaning, but here it is more connected also to awareness. So also the structure, right? The light, the structure, this is all the sun. Then we have the purpose, and purpose is all about the Jupiter, because it's like direction, right? We know that when Jupiter is in Capricorn or debilitated, the person may not have the direction, right? It is like without azimuth. And then we have this community, this must be moon, right? Pitris, the family, this is all the moon, right? Also the exaltation sign is Taurus in the second house. And then we have the ritual. Now for ritual we could say yes, this is the Jupiter, because it's giving the meaning also. But one characteristic or feature of the ritual could be that it's repeating, right? So this could be Ketu. And now we have Sun, Jupiter, Ketu, and the Moon. So these are Sattvic Graha, and Ketu being Tamasic, but it's also, we know, the significator of Mukti or liberation. Ketu is without head, and among all the Grahas, the Ketu is showing liberation. He loves the freedom, therefore also Ketu is lording the 12th house of freedom, the Pisces. Also remember we were talking about the combination for wealth, that 11 from Arudha Lagna need to be connected to Nicha, debilitation or exaltation, or the Atmakaraka. So in this case, this is Jupiter, so 11 from Arudha Lagna, depending how we're counting, but is not related to neither Nicha nor Ucha nor Atmakaraka, unless we will take into consideration the Parivartana exchange between the Sun and Saturn, and then we have connection to the Atmakaraka. Therefore it's showing the situation of big wealth for this person. So it needs to be in this chart. If in any chart, if that rule works, it must be present in this chart. So to have access to the chart, to our karmic life, it's always a very great idea, because you have the bigger perspective of what you can expect in your life, for example, regarding your children, and then you may avoid disappointments, and any expectations may be modified to that picture, because you are preparing yourself with the alternatives. Okay guys, so that's gonna be it for today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel to write below. I always gladly read your comments. And please don't forget to click the thumbs up. And if you like to understand how we analyze and how we use the special dedicated chart to career life, the Shamsa, and analyzing of various types of businesses, then consider watching this video.